We've all heard the story. Two young techies, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, working out of a garage in California, building computers that would change the world. It's a classic tale of vision, grit, and innovation, the origin story of Apple Inc., one of the most valuable companies on Earth. But here's something many people don't know. Apple had a third co-founder. His name was Ronald Wayne. And his story is a fascinating blend of brilliance, fear, principle, and perhaps the biggest missed opportunity in business history. Ronald Gerald Wayne was born in 1934 in Cleveland, Ohio. Unlike the ambitious, fast-talking Steve Jobs or the shy but brilliant Steve Wozniak, Wayne had a quieter, more measured personality. He was always curious, always fascinated by how things worked. He studied at the School of Industrial Arts in New York, graduating in 1953, and spent much of his early adult life teaching himself everything he could about product design, engineering, and mechanics. At age 22, he moved west, chasing new opportunities in the heart of America's growing tech scene. Through the 1960s and early 70s, Wayne worked a variety of engineering jobs, eventually starting his own business, a small company in Las Vegas that built and designed slot machines. It was called Cian Engineering. Now, Wayne was a great engineer, but he wasn't a great businessman. After nearly 5 years of operation, the company folded, and instead of just walking away, Wayne did something rare. He took personal responsibility for the business failure. He spent an entire year paying back the people who had invested in his company, buying back their shares at full price. He didn't have to, but he felt morally obligated to do so. This experience left a deep emotional mark. Wayne had taken a big risk, and it had ended in financial pain and personal disappointment. He decided then that he was done with risk, done with entrepreneurship. He would stick to what he knew best: engineering. Fast forward a few years. Wayne was now working as chief draftsman at Atari, the pioneering video game company. That's where he met Steve Jobs, an ambitious, intense 21-year-old with big dreams and endless ideas. Jobs had just started working at Atari, and although he could be difficult to work with, he immediately impressed Wayne with his passion. Jobs, fascinated by Wayne's engineering background, approached him with a business idea. He claimed he had access to $50,000 and wanted Wayne to help him build a new kind of slot machine. Wayne, recalling his painful business past, replied bluntly, "That would be the fastest way to lose $50,000. Despite this rocky first pitch, Jobs and Wayne stayed in contact. Wayne wasn't a fan of Jobs' abrasive style. He once said he'd prefer cuddling with an ice cube than working with him. But he respected his determination. And he also met Jobs' friend, Steve Wozniak, a quiet but brilliant engineer. Then came the night that changed everything. In early 1976, Jobs and Wozniak visited Wayne's home. They spent the evening in deep discussion, debating computer architecture, technology trends, and business ideas. The conversation lasted hours and slowly evolved into something bigger. That night, Jobs proposed they start a company together. Wozniak would handle the tech, Jobs would lead marketing and sales, and Wayne, 41 years old at the time, would be the tiebreaker, the adult in the room. The structure was clear. Jobs and Wozniak would each get 45% of the company. Wayne would receive 10%. He would help settle disputes, draft documents, and lend his business experience. Despite some hesitation, Wayne agreed. And on April 1st, 1976, the Apple Computer Company was officially born. Wayne didn't waste time. He drafted Apple's very first partnership agreement, clearly outlining the responsibilities of each founder. He also wrote the manual for the Apple I computer, the company's first product, and even designed Apple's original logo, a detailed drawing of Isaac Newton sitting beneath an apple tree, framed by a quote from William Wordsworth, "A mind forever voyaging through strange seas of thought, alone." That logo was eventually replaced by the iconic rainbow apple, but Wayne's contribution set the tone for Apple's early identity. To build their first prototypes, Jobs sold his VW van, and Wozniak sold his Hewlett-Packard calculator. Together, they scraped together just enough money to begin production. Around 200 units of the Apple I were built. The first ones were used in classrooms. Then, Jobs secured an order for 50 units from a local store called The Bite Shop, priced at $500 each. Apple was off to a promising start, but just as things were beginning to move, Ronald Wayne panicked. He looked at the pace things were accelerating, remembered the stress of his failed slot machine business, and thought, not again. Under the partnership agreement, all three founders were personally liable for the company's debts. If Apple went under, Wayne could be held responsible, not just for his own share, but potentially for Jobs or Wozniak's debts too. The Bite Shop, their first big customer, was also known for slow payments. All of it triggered Wayne's worst fears. So, just 12 days after Apple was founded, Ronald Wayne walked away. He sold his 10% stake for $800. At the time, it made sense to Wayne. Apple was just one of many garage startups. Most small businesses didn't survive their first few years, and Wayne, already in his 40s, couldn't afford another major failure. But with the gift of hindsight, we know what happened next. Apple exploded. The Apple II launched, the Macintosh, the iPhone. Today, the company has a market cap of over $2.3 trillion. Wayne's 10% stake? Had he held on, it could have been worth over $200 billion. Of course, it's likely his share would have been diluted over time. He might have sold some along the way. Still, holding on even a little longer could have made him a billionaire. Wayne didn't dwell on it. After leaving Apple, he continued working in engineering, including time at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory and a company called LDF Semiconductors. In the 90s, he opened a collectibles shop focusing on rare coins and stamps, but it struggled after a market crash and several burglaries. In a heartbreaking twist, Wayne later lost his life savings in a home robbery. He now lives in a modest mobile home park in Nevada, surrounded by his stamp collection. He's also written 2 books, Adventures of an Apple Co-Founder and Insolence of Office, a deep dive into the history and mechanics of money. He even launched a crowdfunding campaign to support a 3rd book, titled Counterfeit Trust. Despite everything, Wayne insists he doesn't regret walking away. In interviews, he said, "My passion wasn't computers, it was slot machines. I also knew I was standing in the shadow of giants. I would have spent my life in the back of the company, managing paperwork. That wasn't my dream." But there is one regret. In the early 1990s, Wayne sold his original Apple contract for just $500. He had no idea how valuable it would become. 15 years later, that same document sold at auction for $1.59 million. "In that," Wayne said, "you have the story of my life." So, what do you think? Was Ronald Wayne right to walk away? Or did he make the costliest mistake in tech history? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one.